Hey everybody, welcome to episode 199 of NoDQ&A video. One episode away now from 200. Thanks as always for watching. Got a lot of questions here for episode 199, and I have a ton of questions for episode 200, so stay tuned. Tell a friend on Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media site you go to, but I'll get more to that at the end. For now, let's get down to the questions. Great show. I've been watching wrestling since 2000. What are the issues between Bruno Sammartino and WWE? Bruno Sammartino is a very old school kind of guy. He has his own set of moral standards, and he was not a fan of the national expansion and how Vince McMahon Jr., the Vince McMahon that we all know in this current era, he did not like the way that Vince ran his business. He didn't like the fact that Vince would push guys like Hulk Hogan, guys that Bruno believed were on steroids, and he just thought Vince McMahon was a very shady businessman. And he certainly was not a fan of the Attitude Era. Bruno has been very outspoken about the content of WWE, something that you cannot have your kids watching, and even today's WWE he still thinks is just too out there, and it's not appropriate for kids, and he thinks wrestling should be, you know, not even PG, but G, very family-oriented and something that you can bring your entire family to. So Bruno has been very outspoken about that, and he doesn't like the WWE's Hall of Fame. He feels that if WWE really cared about the performers and cared about the Hall of Fame, that they would actually have a physical Hall of Fame. And I mean, he makes a good point, but I mean, that's a whole different topic of discussion. You just asked me here, what are the issues between Bruno and WWE, and pretty much everything I just mentioned. You know, I don't see Bruno going into the Hall of Fame. I don't think he's ever going to accept the offer to go in. It's just him and WWE are in two very different places. This is from Daniel Bainey 56. Hey Aaron, what did you think of Batista's MMA debut? I only saw a few brief clips of it. I think that Batista did a good job, and I don't really think that he's going to become a regular MMA performer. He's just too old at this point, and there's no way he would be able to compete with the top-level MMA guys, like guys in the UFC. I just think that he's too old, and perhaps if he started doing MMA training when he was in his 20s and he went into it at that time, maybe he would have done very well. Who knows? But I'm very happy for him, though, that he he wants to do something besides WWE, and he branched out into the MMA world, and he won his first fight. So congratulations to him, and I'm happy for him. What do you think WWE would do with Goldberg if he was to return? I have spotted videos on YouTube with him saying he will come back in 2012 possibly. There's been a lot of rumors going around about Goldberg, and he's done interviews where he said he might come back out of retirement, but he never specifically mentioned WWE, I don't think. And I think it's highly unlikely that we will ever see Goldberg back in a WWE ring. He had his run in 2003, and neither side was really that satisfied. I mean, even during Goldberg's run, I remember Linda McMahon publicly speaking out that the company was disappointed with Goldberg's run, and this was like 6 months into his one-year run. So I just don't see him coming back. I don't think they really gelled together, and there's all this talk about Goldberg coming back and facing Ryback. I mean, I think that that's more of a fantasy than anything else. I really don't see that happening, and I don't really think Goldberg would get a huge reaction if he came back, besides like the main WWE cities like Chicago, New York, Toronto, those places. But in your average WWE city with the current audience, they're not even going to know who Goldberg is. So I just don't see it happening. Hinder1. Hey Aaron, congrats on almost reaching 200. Thank you for that. On episode 198, you mentioned that WWE might let Evan Bourne go because of his wellness violations. Do you see him going to TNA and becoming X Division champion? That seems to be the norm in TNA. Somebody gets released from WWE and they go to TNA and they find huge success. Will Evan Bourne be released by WWE and end up in TNA and becoming a big superstar there. Let's not put the cart before the horse. Evan Bourne is still in WWE. There's still a possibility he could be back on television soon. But if he's to be released and goes to TNA, first of all, that's the other thing. TNA has kind of slowed down on signing former WWE talent. I mean, they did sign Chavo Guerrero recently, but beyond that, they haven't really signed a lot of guys that were released from WWE. So I'm not sure they would pick him up right away. Perhaps they'll wait and see how he does on the indie scene first, and then try to make a play for him. He could definitely be a factor in the X division and make a difference. And there's a lot of guys that he could compete with and work with. So, I mean, it could be a positive for TNA if they were to bring him in, and he could definitely help them out. But let's just not jump to conclusions here. He's still with WWE, and I don't know what's going to happen with him at this point. So, don't really want to speculate too much on it. This is from Spinola401. Greetings from Rhode Island. Love the show. Hey, Aaron, in your opinion, what wrestler or wrestlers would you like to see get a major push come 2013? Besides Dolph Ziggler winning Money in the Bank, see WWE have a handful of young talent. Please answer in video. Well, for starters, Dolph Ziggler, obviously, I see getting a huge push in 2013. 2013 looks to be his year. Another guy, perhaps, Wade Barrett, Ryback, if he continues to build momentum, I could see Ryback being a major superstar in 2013. But beyond that, I mean, there's not a whole lot of guys that I see getting a huge push in 2013. It seems like WWE's got their guys that they're pushing, and it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of guys that are ready to break through the glass ceiling. I mean, I just don't see the talent there. Perhaps there'll be some new guys that they bring in next year, and those guys will rise right to the top. Like maybe there'll be another Ryback, somebody like that. But of the current roster, I just don't see a lot of guys right now that could potentially be huge superstars next year. Just don't see it. Hey Aaron, love the show. Please answer on video. Do you think Mr. Kennedy would have won the WWE title or world title if he didn't lose his Money in the Bank briefcase against Edge back in 2007? From Michael in Wyoming. I think that there was a good possibility that Mr. Kennedy would have been the world champion or WWE champion. WWE was definitely grooming him to be their next top star. And I've mentioned this before in previous videos that I think when Mr. Kennedy first came into WWE, I immediately saw something in him, and I thought he was going to be a huge deal. But unfortunately, he had his personal issues, and he was injury prone. He got hurt a lot, and all those setbacks really hurt his run in WWE. So I think that that's unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, if he had stayed healthy and didn't get injured, he would have almost certainly been world champion, in my opinion. This is from Crayon4810. I was wondering how someone ends up being a pro wrestling referee. I can't imagine someone being young and saying, that looks like the coolest job in the world. Do you know how some of these guys end up with jobs as WWE referees? I actually used to know someone who ended up becoming a referee on the independent scene. I think that you have a lot of guys that want to break into the wrestling business and they want to be involved with it in some fashion. And obviously, most of these guys are not going to be athletic enough or have the ability to actually become wrestlers. So they need to do something else, and there's other roles for them. You know, you have some guys that start off doing ring crew and helping set up everything for shows, and then they end up moving on to becoming a referee. And you know, you just work your way up. And then you have other cases where you have wrestlers who get injured and they can no longer wrestle, so they just transition into a role of a referee, so they can still be involved, but they don't have to do as much physical activity in the ring. But being a referee is still a very difficult job, and sometimes those guys don't get enough credit because it's really tough to be a referee, and you know, the referee has to keep control of everything and make sure the match is going according to plan. So they really have a tough job, and sometimes they are underrated, I think. This is from The Practical. Do you think WWE will ever do another three-way tag team TLC match like they did at SummerSlam 2000 and WrestleMania 17? Well, first of all, they're going to need some tag teams to do that, first of all. I mean, to WWE's credit, they're doing a better job pushing the tag teams. But, I mean, that was its own era. That was part of the Attitude Era. And WWE is limiting the amount of TLC matches they do. Obviously, they have the TLC pay-per-view. And they have Money in the Bank with the ladder matches. But beyond that, you don't really see a whole lot of ladder matches these days. And I don't think that they're going to do that type of match again anytime soon, just because it's very hard, obviously, to coordinate when you have so many guys in there. And the risk of injury is greater. And I think WWE's really trying to, hold back a little bit and try to prevent these guys from getting hurt. So I think that those matches can end up being, too out of control, and it's just too much of a risk, I think. But, I mean, perhaps one day we'll see another three-way tag team match, but you have to keep in mind that that was a unique feud. You had the Hardy Boys, the Dudleys, and Edge and Christian, and like a three-way rivalry and feud. And we just don't see that very often. So, I mean, it could happen, but the chances are not anytime soon. Alright, that'll wrap it up for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. As I mentioned at the beginning, one episode away now from number 200. So tell a friend on Facebook, tell a friend on Twitter, post a YouTube video, post a tout. Spread the word. No DQ&A video, episode 200. Coming soon.